Let's take a look at the items that are included in the kit. So it's going to come with two of the main brackets, and they are very distinct. There's a clutch side and a brake side. You'll see that there's several counter bores on each one, and these are always going to be facing the outside of the bike. These brackets are not interchangeable, and you'll notice an additional difference is we made this one wider than this one, so it'll be easier to tell which one is which. Included with that, you'll get two fully assembled foot pegs, along with spacers and all the necessary hardware to do your installation. We're going to be starting our installation today on the workbench, and what you're going to need to get are your two main brackets, your two foot pegs, 4 of the M8-16 bolts, and you're going to need a 6mm hex wrench. Your foot pegs are exactly the same, so it really doesn't matter what side they go on. And what you're going to want to do is put your bolts through the back side of the bracket so that the ends of them are showing through on the side that has the counter bores. This is the side that's going to be facing away from the bike. So we're going to go ahead and attach this by screwing them into the holes on the back of the foot pegs. And we found that the most comfortable position for riding is going to be in this configuration so that the foot pegs are facing towards the inward. Now we're ready to install them on the bike. For this part of the installation, you're going to need a 4mm, 5mm, and 8mm hex wrench. You're going to need a 14mm socket, and you're going to need 2 of the 60mm flange bolts. You're going to need 2 of the 12mm spacers. You're going to need 1 70mm button head bolt, and you're going to need your clutch side main assembly that you just put together. Go ahead and take your 5mm wrench and remove your lower fairing bolt. You will not be reusing this bolt, so you can just go ahead and set it aside. Now you're going to get your 8mm hex, and you're going to remove this bolt right here. You can set this aside, you will not be reusing it. Take one of your spacers, put it in the hole. Take your main assembly and position it so the counter bore lines up with your hole. Put your 60mm flange bolt in and thread it in about halfway. Now you're going to go ahead and let it carefully rotate down. And you're going to take your 8mm wrench again, and you're going to remove this bolt. You will not be reusing this bolt. You can go ahead and set it aside. Take your other spacer, insert it into the hole, rotate this up so that your holes line up. Put your flange bolt in and start screwing it in. And you want to keep it so that there's still some spacing in between, because we need to put our long spacer into this hole with the tip going inward. Then get your 70mm button head and slide it into that hole and start threading it in. This is going to use a 4mm hex. Now you can take your 14mm socket and your ratchet and start tightening these down. And now the installation on this side is complete. On this side, you're going to be using all the same tools that you used on the other side. For hardware, you're going to need your 60mm flange bolt, 12mm spacer, 70mm flange bolt, 6mm spacer, 70mm button head, long spacer, and then your brake side foot peg assembly. Let's start by removing our fairing bolt, and you're going to need your 5mm hex. You will not be reusing this bolt. Go ahead and set it aside. We're going to remove our engine bolt with the 8mm hex. You will not be reusing the bolt. You can go ahead and set it aside. Take your 6mm spacer, put the counter bore over the spacer, and then your 70mm flange bolt. Now you can go ahead and get your 8mm hex wrench and remove this bolt. You will not be reusing it. You can go ahead and set it aside. Put your 12mm spacer, rotate this up so the counter bore matches with the hole. Put your flange bolt in. Start threading it in. Take your long spacer, tip pointed in, and put your 70mm button head in. Take your 14mm ratchet and start threading in your flange bolt. .4mm hex. And now the installation is complete. Make sure to take a look at our tip over protection. It bolts right into the bolts that are already existing on your main plate. And we do sell it as a combo so that you could install it all at one time.